Hello all you internet aficionados of miniature painting. It's time to ramble. I'm Doc Eon. This is Monday the 9th of March 2020, and as always I start out by showing you finished stuff, and there's a mixed bag of stuff that got finished this past week. I'll just show it to you in the order that it actually got finished. And the first things I did were, well, to finish up the koalas that were started previously, and also these crystals, which you'll remember I just showed you in their raw form last week. Normally I show it to you in the blister pack one week, next week you'll see it prepped and primed, and the week after that you'll see it finished. And this time I accelerated that a bit because they were so freaking simple. They're just put on basis, rock texture on the basis, just adding some highlights to the crystals to make them look even more crystally, and boom, you're done. The koalas were, I considered doing fantasy koalas like some sort of non-natural fur color, but you know, there's a challenge in being naturalistic as well, just trying to look at a picture of a real thing and paint it like it would look, you know? And most koalas are this sort of dirty brown gray. They look drab and boring, but I added some interest with the axe and with the dress on this one. Some of the colors look a bit too close together. I mean, the pink of the belt and the flowers is supposed to be matching, but the flower pot is actually supposed to be yellow on top of the purple. I don't know if that reads. Oh well. I tried. Next up, the slods. We have the green slod, and the blue, and the red. Now, I've left the bodies a little shiny to simulate that they might be a bit slimy, maybe, perhaps, but I would use the matte varnish on all the gear and the bases. Now this guy is completely unclothed, but you get the idea. This guy is a little tricky because the stuff on the front hanging from his belt buckle over his loincloth is a bit difficult to make out what it's actually supposed to be, so it's kind of abstractly painted, just sort of roughed in. But I'm trying to just give you the impression that he's got a lot of bric-a-brac hanging from his belt, and that's really all you need. And I try to paint this as a rock that fire is coming up out of. There's cracks in it. You be the judge if it makes sense, if it comes across. But yeah, they're finally finished. And if you stuck around this long, you get to see some mostly naked ladies and a naked monster. Yeah. So this one of these is not like the others. It's let's see if we can get some better light here. No, it's too bright perhaps, but better than nothing. A lot of blood effect on this guy, and not so much. While I had it out, I put some blood on her dagger tip here and the spear tip there as well. Now the only issue here, by the way, I've left a bit of sheen, some satin on the skin and the hair, and just made the equipment matte. I've also tried to make her bikini looked like the leopard skin, in that it's kind of a yellowish brown with some dark brown / black spots. And maybe the hair shouldn't be all that shiny, but oh well. We can perhaps work on that later. I'll look at the still pics. You'll note that the skin is 3 different shades, somewhat different. That was perhaps a mistake, working on 3 skin tones at the same time. Trying to remember all the mixes on my palette and what they were for. It was kind of exhausting, and I had to remix a lot of it and just eyeball it. Just try to think of, okay, so what did this actually look like? But you know, they turned out okay. Another experiment in painting female nudes and 1 male nude. It's something an artist has to do, you know. What? Even more finished minis? Don't worry, these are the last for this go around, actually. So we have the female Ifrit and Jinn. And as I mentioned, I painted this miniature before, rather differently. Well, not completely differently. Let me show you. See if I can grab it here for comparison. So these are the 2. The first one was just more gray, and this one is more blue. And this led to certain other changes. Like for instance, in the first figure, I've used a lot more colored metallics for the various decorations. This is because the skin of the character is very pale and kind of washed out, so I wanted more color there. Here, with this very bright blue, I didn't want a lot of clashing colors on the jewelry and the scales and whatnot, so I just painted them very simple metallics, and also the clothing, as it's such as it is, very neutral colors. So let's take that one out of the picture again. As you noticed, I kept them semi-glossy, like the old one, just so they match. The Ifrit is just kind of a dark red, shaded orange on the highlights. Maybe it's too glossy. We'll see if I do something about this. And the green is the simplest, contrasting, complementary color to the red. Not much else to say. But that, anyway, that's a grand total of 13 minis done this week. Several of which were kind of complicated. But then again, a lot of these were started previous weeks. So, yeah, it's just finishing stuff up. These stone giants might look like they're still just in primer because I primed them a dark gray, but actually I've worked on their skin. So hopefully you can see that it's shaded and highlighted, and a different tone of gray than the rest of the model, which is still just in that German gray primer, except for the bases where I painted some stuff on as well. And yeah, they have been started, simply enough. You'll see. And the bear has had like a base coat and 1 layer of dry brushing. I still haven't decided what the final color of this will be, but oh, there's a dry brush. You know, these don't look like they'll present any big problems for me. Looking at the remainder of the new stuff, the stuff in front here is primed, the stuff in back is not. It's been cleaned and based, and the basing isn't even done yet for these elementals. I'm not quite sure what to do, what I should add to the bases, if anything. Yeah, because some of them, like the wind elementals, should be like blowing everything away that's around them. And the water elemental as well, it should mostly just be water. Anyway, so looking at these 4 that I plan to bring to the store. This one, no, this is the one where I'm having my doubts whether I can transport this to the game store safely without breaking off something like the wings or the staff or some other fragile part. So to keep it safe, I think I'll just keep this at home, and I'll bring these three: the foxes, the weird musicians, and this sort of fairy thing. I don't know what she is. And I'll try to figure out some way to paint them tonight at the store painting session. Yeah. This week there has been a package drop. It's from Reaper. It's my latest monthly order, which I placed just because A, there's some minis I kind of want, and B, they have bonus offerings that tempt me. Now, there's a lot of stuff here, and this is because to get the bonuses, you have to get to a certain amount of money paid, and this month I went for a lot of Bones minis, and they're cheaper, so I needed more of them to get to the limit. Some of the bonuses they send you are not terribly useful, like this dice set. You know, I have millions of dice. No, not millions, thousands, no, hundreds at least. I don't have that much use for these, but I don't know. They're in a nice carrying case. Maybe I can use them as a traveling set. There's also down there a sticker, which I don't know where I'll put. And then there's a few actual minis that were bonuses. Let me unpack this off camera and I'll show you. There's a couple of translucent bones, the Shadow Demon and the Large Fire Elemental. There's no particular rhyme or reason why I got these ones. I got the ones that were in stock. There's some oddities here. I got the paint pokey tool, or the dropper tip tool as they call it, which is it's a pin with a skull on it, and use it to clear a clogged nozzle. And I got two, one for at home and one for my traveling kit. We have the actual bonus minis that I got for placing a large order. And as I mentioned, we have Kyrie, the female barbarian, and Clarissa, the banshee. Did I mention Kyrie? Thing is, I got Kyrie because it's long been a very limited special edition mini. It's only been available for a few promotions, and for some reason I've never really prioritized getting her. She's always been the one that got away. But now they've made her generally available. You know, anyone could buy her. So, I mean, I guess if she's easy to get, that makes her less interesting, but I got her anyway. Anyway, and the last metal models I got were 2 copies of the fungus patch, because I thought they looked cool, like terrain. And also, they go well with some fungus monsters that I got from the Kickstarter. And then I also bought a few. I bought these Vegapygmies, which are like, yeah, pygmies made of vegetable matter. And because there's only 2 in the set, I got 3 of the same, just so I have a reasonable amount of them to use as enemies. And the rest of his bones. We have some assorted monsters. We have the Death Dog, which is a 2-headed dog. A Bathalion, which is a Mind Flayer. A Battle Guard Golem, which is an Iron Golem. We have 2 Pack Donkeys. We have a couple of pieces of scenery. It's the Well of Chaos and the Altar of Evil. And then finally, we have 6 Dark Elves. And this is to complement all the Dark Elves, or Drow, that are in the Bones 4 Kickstarter, because, you know, I showed you the box last week, remember? There were Drow on that Dark Reach expansion. So, do I want to start painting any of this right away? So I'm a sucker for these translucent bones minis. I guess because I always think that they're going to be very easy to paint, and usually they are. Just as long as you don't overcomplicate things. So from this latest order, I'm going to do these two first. The Shadow Demon and the Large Fire Elemental. This is a good follow-up because I painted a smaller Fire Elemental a few weeks back, which is from the same range. I'm going to continue on picking out some minis from the Dark Reach expansion for Bones 4. Again, I'm just going to pick a few these weeks and very simple ones. These are giant bats. Well, I don't know how giant they are. They're larger than normal sized. They're not like humongous bats, but they're, you know, big as a large dog. Bigger than any bat in real life, anyway. Sitting on gravestones, it looks like. There's three of these. And then for painting at next week's game store session on Monday, I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to pick out a few hassle-free minis. That's not unusual in itself, but these two are kind of odd girls out. Because as you can see on the labels, they're both 40mm scale, and not many companies do 40mm miniatures. I mean, 28 or 30 or 32 is the common like gaming scale, and then for display you go up to 56 or 72 or even 90. 40 is like in between 28 and 56. It's neither here nor there. So it's a little odd. And there's sort of sci-fi minis in both of them. This one is like acrobatically using some sort of high-tech pole to vault somewhere, and she has like cables coming out of her head. So she's very sci-fi, and she has blades for feet, or she has blades strapped to her lower legs and feet, which is why she can't stand on them, because she needs to use this pole to sort of get up in the air and then slash people with her foot razors. Really odd. This Tammy the Sniper Girl is sort of crouching, and she's kind of dressed in what could be modern day or any sort of 20th century clothes, except that the rifle is kind of odd looking. It's not... I don't think it's based on any historical model that I know of. It just... So this could be some sort of alternate history or steampunk kind of themed mini, perhaps? But anyway, even though they're 40 millimeter scale, I can use I can still use scenic basis scaled for 28 mil. I've got some 32 millimeter sized in diameter bases, and I don't think the ground texture would look out of place for these. Perhaps a little small, but I don't think the viewer will notice. So that's my plan to prep these for next week and for painting at the painting club. So just 7 new minis. That's not a lot, but you know, I've got a lot on my plate since last week that I haven't finished up. So I'm trying to cut back on new stuff so that I can catch up. And hopefully, you know, hopefully by next week, next Monday, everything you've seen before will be finished painting, and I'll just have these 7 to work on. That's the plan. Let's see if I can achieve it. And if that works out, well, I'll add more stuff to the queue next week. Anyway, that was the episode. I'm glad you stayed with me this long. If you did, click like. You know, if you've stuck around this long and you didn't like it, why are you here? Give me a thumbs up. And subscribe if you haven't done so before. and join me next week for another ramble. Until then, I, Dakian, am signing off.